Hi, this is Tessa Keogh, and this is another 20 with Tessa. Today we're going to be discussing registering a surname with the Guild and publishing your profile. And I don't want you to get too worried, because it's easier than you think. How long have you been a member of the Guild? How do you use your membership? Are you going it alone? Do you gather data, but wonder if you're aware of all the data sets? Do you wonder about how others are doing their studies? How they gather, analyze, publish, or preserve their data? Are you wishing you could interact with other one-namers who share your hobby? You don't have to go it alone, and the Guild of One Name Studies has an amazing number of resources to assist you with your study. How often do you use the Guild website? Are you comfortable navigating it? Can you easily find what you need? I want to give you two pieces of advice. When in doubt, be sure to check the index. That's the little book icon. Or search the website. That's the little magnifying glass icon. Be sure to take advantage of all the benefits your Guild membership provides. There are 25 member benefits that are listed on the Guild website, and you can click on each of these icons to find out more about them. How many of these benefits do you use? I've got an idea. Let's play Benefits Bingo. Now, I have markers on each of the benefits that I've used. As you can see, I've used 9 out of the 25. That's roughly 36%. So, do any of you out there have bingo? And that's any 6 down or 5 across. Check out all of the benefits and see. Personally, I feel that the Guild is the best £14 or $23 you're going to spend this year on your genealogy. $23 a year is basically $2 a month. That's the cost of a cup of coffee, a couple of donuts, or a large city newspaper. I think it's a great deal. But as they say on television, but wait, there's more. We now have regional newsletters, Google Plus Hangouts, monthly YouTube how-to videos, and lots more opportunities for interaction among Guild members. Your annual subscription fee is due on November 1st of each year, and personally, I think it's a real bargain. Now, I think there's 3 stages of Guild membership. The first stage is when you're going solo. You join the Guild, you use the Guild resources. A lot of times you're what's known as a lurker. The second stage is when you're part of the group. You decide to register your surname, you publish your profile, you either start or you continue on with your one-name study. And at this point, you interact a lot more with the other Guild members. Maybe you go to in-person meetings if there's a number of Guild members in your area, or you've joined in Hangouts or Skype phone calls if you can't physically get together. And the third group is when you're a scholar and mentor. These are the people who've been in the Guild for a number of years and maybe even were conducting one-name studies before they even joined the Guild. They're the people who've been doing their studies for upwards of 10, 20, or 30 years. And they are a wealth of information and are terrific people to ask questions of and to kind of get tips and suggestions on the best practices. If you've been a member of the Guild for a while, and you've been going solo, and that was me. The first 3 years I took advantage of Guild resources, principally the wiki and the journal. But last August I happened upon a Guild Plus Hangout for North America, and I met Bob Cumberbatch, Jim Benedict, Joe Fitzhenry, Colin Spencer, and Gary Barton. And so this was the equivalent of chatting with people in Spain, England, Canada, and other parts of the United States. I finally felt like I had a real connection with the Guild, and I interacted with people who could answer my technical questions about Excel, my research questions about Irish records, and my general questions about how did everyone else run their one-name studies. And once I heard about their experiences with their studies, I decided, hey, I could do this, and I decided to register my surname. So how about you? Maybe it's time to go all the way and register your surname. Now relax. Being a member of the Guild can just be for your own interest and to take advantage of the Guild resources. You never have to go beyond that first membership group. Guild members are not required to register a surname. As I mentioned, I joined the Guild in 2009 and didn't register my surname until July of this year. But if you're ready to take it to the next level, then there are 4 simple steps to register your surname. The first is to check to make sure that the surname's available. The second is to review and accept the Guild's registration principles. And simply put, that's that at some point you plan to go global in scope, and the only requirement is that you respond to all inquiries that are sent by email or postage prepaid letter in a timely fashion. The third step is to fill out the surname registration form, and finally forward the form and your fee, which is £12 or the equivalent of $20, to the Guild, and you can do this online or through the mail. It's that simple. You do it once and you're done. Now there are 3 registration categories, and I refer to them as the egg, the chick, and the hen. The first category is when your research is in its earliest stages. The second category is when your research is underway but currently only in some countries. And your third category is when your research is well underway and is on a basis. As you can see from my registration, I registered the Keogh surname and included 2 variants. When you take a look at my study details, you can see that there's any number of items you can include. If you have a newsletter or journal, if you have reconstructed trees, a website, a DNA project, if you have a Facebook or Google Plus page. So as you can see, you can do as much or as little as your schedule, your budget, and your ability or interests permit. Start out slow and grow your study over time, or leap right in and go big. It's all up to you. Now, once you've registered your surname, it's time to put together your profile. Your Guild profile is simply a personalized web page located at the Guild website, and this allows a member to produce a web page that describes their study. The form is online, and the pages automatically become part of the Guild website. So your page is indexed by Google and other search engines, and other researchers looking for information about your surname now have an easy way to find you and get in touch. There are 7 sections or pieces of the profile pie. You can include as many or as few as you choose. Start with a few and add more sections later. Update your profile as your study gets farther along. It's all up to you. But let's take a look at a couple profiles that are already online. The first is the Gallagher One Name Study profile. And what I want to point out here is that he's added a crest, and that's the picture that he's chosen. He has great detail about the frequency of the name that he's written about. And finally, he has a number of links. And this is just one way of filling out a profile. In the second one, the Mark One Name Study profile, you see that by reading the About section, the study is global in nature. And that also in the Data section, he's listed out the specific records that he's worked on. And finally, in the Timmins One Name Study profile, in the About section you can see that he's currently restricted his study to England and Wales, and that he has not at this point registered any variants. So there's a wide variation of what you can have in your profile and what point your study is at. Now let's take a look at each piece of the pie in detail. The first piece of the pie is the description, and this is where you give a summary of your registered study, including your primary surname and any of the variants. It's a good place to give a little background as to why you got started and the status of your study. Now, this is the draft that I have been putting together of my profile. I am the USA West Regional Representative, and I challenged the other members last month to work on a profile if they didn't already have one online, and hopefully we would all publish our profiles in November. I'm trying to stick with that November 1st date. We're getting close. In any event, Keep in mind that your Guild profile is located at the Guild website and is not behind the paywall, so it's available to be viewed by members and non-members alike. So I would suggest that you write in an active voice and try to generate interest. View it as cousin bait. Maybe some others who share your surname will see the profile and offer to assist you in your study, or someone will offer to share their data with you. I'd also encourage you to share your plans and your goals for how you see your study growing in scope over time. The second piece of the pie is the origin or meaning of your surname. And what I did here, to show you how easy it can be, is I did a Google search including my surname as well as the words genealogy and surnames. And right away it brought up 171,000 results, including a couple of websites that I think are real helpful to take a look at. The surname database is very good, as are family facts for names, and that's found at, the link is at ancestry.com. So it's very easy to go in and find information about the origin or meaning of your surname. Now I would also suggest that you don't take anything at face value and you complement your online research with some library and archives research as well. Now this is the draft section that I have put together so far on the origin of my surname. Provide a little history. The type of information can be found, as I mentioned, online or at the library. And be sure to give proper credit for the information when you write up your profile. The pie is the famous and historical occurrences of your surname. And again, I have an example of a Google search that I did using the words famous and 2 spellings of the surname. I also received 59,700 results. Probably the most interesting one to me is the one that's at the bottom of the page, which is Miles Keogh. And he was a member of the Vatican Guard. He came over to the United States and fought in the Civil War, and then after the Civil War concluded, he fought with Custer's troops, and he was at the Battle of Little Bighorn. So that's one of the more famous Keoghs. Be sure to check out websites and books to see if there's any famous or infamous people in your own or other families that share the surname. I've listed historical occurrences both in Ireland and the United States at this point, and as you can see, Miles Keogh is listed here. So there could be poets, politicians, entertainers, scholars, athletes, or warriors who share your surname. A little research will help you find them. The fourth piece of the pie is the frequency and distribution for your surname. And there are a number of great websites and reference materials to check this out, but the type of information you're looking for is how often your surname occurs over time and over space. And that means taking a look at the origin of your surname. For instance, mine is in Ireland, and seeing where it appears in the Irish census or in the Irish birth registration information. You can carry it to places where your family migrated: Canada, the United States, Australia. Look at census records, look at vital statistics, voter registrations. All of this type of information gives you a sense of the frequency of your surname in particular countries. A really great site to use is publicprofiler.org, and they give you visuals on the frequency of the surnames together with some of the data behind it. And as you can see from this map of the world, the Keogh surname shows up most frequently, or the highest frequency, is in Canada, and that's followed by the United States and Australia, and then there's moderate indications of it in the British Isles and in Ireland, as well as Argentina. So this is a really good jumping off point to find out current and historical distributions of various surnames. The fifth piece of the pie is a description of the data that you've collected together with a link to any data that you've archived with the Guild. You could also provide a link if there is data that you have at a blog or a website. But this is a really good way to kind of summarize or lay out the information that you've put together to date. And this is my draft, again, of the description of data I've collected to date, and I basically explain that I started out in a small community in the Bonavista region of Newfoundland, and then I have expanded that study to other parts of Canada. I've done a little bit of work in England and Wales with freely available information on the free birth, marriage, and death indexes, and I've also statistical analysis at least to Ireland, Scotland, and the United States. I've looked at the census information so that I at least have the numbers and a sense of how much work I have in front of me. I've also worked on the Social Security Death Index for my surname for two reasons. It's a really great way of finding out information and it's a good jumping off point, but it's one of those pieces of information that might be closed to the public in the near future. So it's always good to go in and get those records while you have the chance. But this would give somebody looking at my profile a sense of what I've already worked on. And so maybe if they have questions about it, they could contact me. Or maybe they have other countries. Maybe somebody from Australia or Argentina could add to my study. It's a really good way of connecting with people. The sixth piece of the pie is the DNA information. So if you have details of any DNA project for your surname that you might be running or involved with, this would be a really good place to put it. And I have two pieces of advice for you here. First off, make sure you have a pretty decent understanding of what kinds of tests for DNA you should sign up for or ask other members of your family to sign up for, because there's a lot of tests out there and a lot of information out there, and there are some great journal articles about DNA, and there's some real experts who could answer your questions who are members of the Guild. And the second piece of advice I'd give you is check out with a Google search. Check out and see if someone else has already started a DNA study, because you don't have to reinvent that wheel. You can just piggyback on their research. So in this instance, I would contact Miles Keogh, who's the group administrator of a Keogh DNA project that started back in 2009. So you don't have to do everything yourself. You can be part of a group and join in. Now the last piece of the pie is links. So here's the place where you'd want to put any links to external sources relevant to your study, things that you'd like to highlight. If there's some especially good websites, if you have a website, if you have a blog, you also want to include your contact details and a counter so you can keep track of the number of visits. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is you need to remember that your contact details are not behind the members room password, so it's not behind the paywall. So I think you should be circumspect with your personal information. This is one area that I'm going to change before I publish my profile. I'm going to remove my address and phone number, and you want to be sure to use your Guild provided alias email address. But it's really helpful to put contact information so that people can actually get a hold of you. Now that I've shown you my draft, let's get started with your profile. The first thing you have to do is apply for an account. And I just wanted to show you that you can go to the that book icon that I showed you on the Guild website. And if you click on that and you go to the letter P, you click on profiles, and up pops this information about profiles and how you apply for an account to create your personalized web page. In a matter of hours, I got an email back telling me that my application had been set up and I had an account, so I could start working on my profile. It's that simple. Now it's time to start writing. What they ask you to do is to log into the maintenance facility, and I figured out that this is a Britishism for a dedicated Guild page. You want to select the options and start writing. Choose the topics, any of those 7 that you wish to include in your page. Now what I did was I drafted mine in a word processing document. The only thing you need to remember when you cut and paste or copy and paste is that you do not save any of the format of your text, and so you're going to need to reformat it on the Guild page. But there are provisions for paragraphs, bulleted lists, tables, emphasis, and hyperlinks. So it's not a problem to do that. Then you add a counter, a date of the last update, and your contact details, and you might want to add a picture. Some people use their own photo, other people use a picture of all of their work product, and some people who have the ability to use it use their clan details or maybe a crest. Then you produce your profile, and that simply means that you click on Preview the web page, click on Save the content, and I'll say that twice. Make sure you always save your content because you can always come back and work on your profile later. But when you're finally finished with it, then you click on Publish Web Page, and that's it. You select the Exit button and you're done. Congratulations, you have a Guild profile. And a Guild profile is a really good way for other people to get to know a little bit more about you and a lot more about your One Name study. So be sure to visit the website that I've listed here, which is the Guild website for profiles, because it provides a detailed walkthrough to prepare and publish your profile. And it gives you some additional explanations on how you'd maintain your picture, change your profile, delete your profile, or you can find the contact information for the profile administrator who can hold your hand and walk you through the process. So, with only so many hours in a day, and only so many hours to spend on genealogy and One Name studies, what Guild benefits would I suggest you use, and what should you do to help give back to the Guild? Well, this is my top 10 list. The first thing I would suggest you do is read the journal. It's terrific, it's published quarterly, it has great articles, and it can really help you learn how other people do their One Name studies. The second thing I'd suggest is that you use the Guild forum or the Guild bulletin board, whichever is your preference, but it's a great way to get your questions answered and to find out the news. The third thing I'd suggest is that you learn to navigate the Guild website, and all you have to know is to use the search key or the index key. Fourth, I hope I've encouraged you to register a surname. I think you're going to get a lot more out of your One Name studies, and you're going to feel like you own it if you register it. The fifth item, publish your profile. It's a great way to introduce yourself to the rest of the members and to get to know a little bit more about each One Name study. The sixth thing I'd suggest is attend a Google Plus Guild Hangout. They're held monthly on the third Saturday of the month, and you can attend them live or watch a recorded version. Seventh thing I'd suggest, expand your One Name study. If you've focused on one small area, include the country or jump the pond. Eighth, volunteer for a Guild project, maybe a marriage challenge, or volunteer to assist your regional representative. Ninth, share your knowledge and expertise. There are a number of Guild members who have so much information to share. Either be a Guild mentor or ask for a Guild mentor if you need help. And finally, help grow our membership. Spread the word about the Guild, whether that's your friends who also are involved in genealogy, or taking some of the information about the Guild to your next Genealogy Society meeting, take it to the archives, or maybe take it to a conference or seminar that you go to. Really encourage other people who share your interests to help grow our membership. So, what are you waiting for? It actually is pretty easy to register your surname and to put together your profile. The water's warm. Why not jump right in? If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them here at YouTube. You can also email me at tessa.keogh@one-name.org. You can post on the Guild's Google Plus page. You can always check out the Guild website at www.one-name.org. Visit the Guild on Facebook or at Google+, and finally, post at the Guild bulletin board. And thanks for watching, and all the best with your studies.